chief political analyst David Brody is traveling with the Secretary of State this week. He will be sitting down with Mr. Pompeo for an interview one-on-one while he is in Israel.
That's right, and we will, of course, bring you that report right here on Faith Nation when we have it later this week. But for now, here's David with a preview of the trip.
You know, there's no place in the world I'd rather be than the Faith Nation set in Washington, D.C., but sorry, we have some business to attend to in the Middle East. We're going with Secretary of State Mike Pompeo over to Kuwait and Israel, and we'll be there all week. It starts off in Kuwait. He will be meeting with the foreign minister there. And it's not just about meetings. There will be some agreements signed with an ally. Of course, this is a very important United States ally, Kuwait. They'll be signing some defense agreements, some agreements on energy as well. But look, ultimately, they need Kuwait's help when it comes to the Iranian influence in that region. Kuwait does have relations with Iran. It's been rocky at times. It's good now, or at least it's relatively good now. And so the United States needs Kuwait's help in that area. So that'll be a big theme in Kuwait. Then it's over to Israel.
Hello, Mr. Secretary.
Where Secretary Pompeo will meet with Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister. A lot of folks saying, hey, boy, this is interesting and convenient because, of course, Netanyahu in a very hotly contested election in Israel that is on April 9th. And here comes the Secretary of State along for the ride, if you will, coming into Israel, into Jerusalem to meet with Netanyahu right as the election is about to take place. A lot of folks are thinking this is a way of the Trump administration throwing their support behind Netanyahu, excuse me. Of course, the United States saying nothing could be further from the truth, but he will not, he being Pompeo, will not meet with Netanyahu's rivals in the election. So that's, of course, interesting. There's no reason necessarily to meet with them and give them prime minister type status. But anyhow, that's a bit of the controversy that we'll be covering there. By the way, when we are in Israel, we will be sitting down with Secretary of State Mike Pompeo somewhere in Jerusalem. Who knows where? We'll get back to you on that for sure. Chris Mitchell, our Jerusalem bureau chief, and I will be doing the honors with the Secretary of State. And then after Israel, the Secretary of State makes his way to Beirut, Lebanon. Of course, the big issue there, well, there's so many issues there in Beirut, but of course, Beirut borders Syria. And of course, that will be a big hot topic, not to mention the fact that Hezbollah, of course, involved heavily in the Lebanese government. And so that will be a point of contention that the Secretary of State will deal with when meeting with folks there in Beirut. So that's the trip in a nutshell. We'll be there at least for the first two legs, possibly Beirut. I'll get back to you on that, but most likely it's actually just going to be Kuwait and Israel at this point. We're there also, we should point out, to do a profile on Mike Pompeo. We'll air that later on Faith Nation. And I will tell you this, that he is a man of faith. Those are not my words, those are his words. He talks a lot about Jesus. He wears his faith on his sleeve. We will explore that. We're really looking forward to doing this story, and we will report back from Jerusalem later in the week here on Faith Nation. David Brody, CBN News, in the D.C. newsroom on the way to Kuwait. It's a long flight. I hope they have pretzels.